Before we dive into today's episode, I want to extend a special invitation to all of our listeners. If you're considering adoption, navigating the home study process, or simply curious about your options, RG Adoption Consulting is here to guide you. Visit our website at www.rgadoptionconsulting.com/contact to schedule a complimentary chat. Our multi-agency approach is a strategic way to accelerate your adoption process without putting all your eggs in one basket. This strategy prevents you from feeling stuck with one agency, especially after a significant financial commitment. Why not consider a multi-agency approach with lower initial fees? We believe it makes a lot more sense. Plus, the support and education you receive through our services are aspects you might not expect you'll need until you're deep into the process. Reach out to us at rgadoptionconsulting.com/contact. We're here to support your adoption journey every step of the way. Your dream is to become a mom. My dream is to help you get there. I'm Rebecca Gruenspan, a single mom through domestic adoption and an adoption consultant for over a decade. I'll be your guide, along with other adoption professionals and members of the adoption constellation, walking you step by step down this beautiful and complex path of adopting your baby. When I was going through the adoption process, I had no idea what I was doing, what I needed to know, or more importantly, who to trust. Well, after helping hundreds and hundreds of families grow through the beauty and complexity of adoption, I've learned more than a thing or two, and let me tell you, it's not always rainbows and butterflies. This isn't just another podcast sharing adoption stories, but it's for you if you're genuinely committed to diving in with an open heart, eager to learn everything there is to know about adopting a baby so that you can show up for yourself and your child in the best way possible. This podcast is for you if you're ready to put your newfound knowledge into action. Adoption isn't for the weak of heart, and it certainly isn't done when your baby gets placed in your arms. If that's what you think, I'm afraid you're living in la la land. My promise to you is to keep it real if you promise to keep digging. We'll acknowledge the hard, and we'll also celebrate the joy that is adoption. You ready? Let's do this. Hello, friends, and welcome to This Week in Adoption. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you've been listening to and enjoying all of the Adoption Roadmap podcast episodes that have dropped. You guys, there have been some amazing conversations, and frankly, conversations that I wasn't sure were going to be that awesome to begin with, maybe because I didn't know somebody very well, or I just wasn't sure if the topic was going to be so interesting, have been so good, if I may toot my own horn. So go back and listen. For example, I did one with Kate Shanahan a couple weeks ago, or maybe last week, building resilience and embracing diversity. I just did one with Whitney Michael about going from domestic adoption to foster care adoption and talking about the fall throughs she's experiencing and the financials of adoption. And this is really cool stuff. And I mean, not cool. Losing a lot of money is not cool. Let's face it. And it's stuff that you need to know if you're in the process or about to start the process. You get the point. Go back, watch, rate, review, because then that will, allow me to bring bigger and better guests, and more people can listen to it. So good morning. I hope you've had a wonderful week. It is Thursday morning when I record these. So hello. Speaking of financing and the struggle of money, I do want to read some things from my community that came up about that exact topic of fundraising. So let me get into it. Okay. The post says, we are really struggling with fundraising and finding that it's something that not a lot of people talk about. We have utilized a financial coach, applied to many grants, and haven't gotten any so far. Did garage sales over 2 summers to widely varied degrees of mild success. Hosted a fundraiser, 6 people attended. Have sold furniture and appliances online. Are doing a bake sale. Have set up an Adopt with Us crowdfunding page, taken on part-time jobs, made direct appeals to friends and family, requested money from our church, contributed into our own savings, and even asked one of our part-time employers to consider matching our summer income toward our adoption, yet still find ourselves over $30,000 shy of where most situations are that we are seeing. Wow, that's a lot. And I just want to applaud their efforts, because these people are not giving up. So let's hear what some people had to say. Let's see. I'm not going to read Whitney's comments because you can go listen to her episode that launched recently that just dropped, and where she talks about that. But we funded our adoption through savings and loans, personal and 401k. We also had to charge some of the travel costs to credit cards. What gave us relief is that as we pulled together the funding resources, we also drew out a 5-year plan to ensure everything would be paid back within that time. I love that. We didn't get much luck with grants, so we had to become comfortable with a 5-year plan that worked for us, but keep pushing and keep fundraising. Every dollar helps. Even if your fundraising funds only cover travel costs, that will bring big financial relief as you wait out ICPC, the Interstate Compact for Children Through Adoption. I'm not saying the right words, but it's the time that you have to wait before you can bring your baby home if you adopt in another state. We didn't properly plan for the travel costs and wish we had included a more realistic amount for that in the budget. Okay. He responded to that. I totally understand. It took us a year to wrap our minds around taking on debt. As you stated previously, the financial aspect of adoption isn't discussed enough, but is a huge part of the decision. Keep standing firm on what's best for you, and everything else will fall into place. You're doing an amazing job. We are similarly struggling with our puzzle fundraiser, still only a tiny drop in the bucket, but I did notice an uptick in contributions when I wrote a post fully outlining what adoption costs. Most people just had no idea. Great little tip. Somebody said, I was blessed to have a solid income and savings, so I have paid a little less on my student loans than I planned at this point, but I didn't have to do any fundraising. I hope you guys figure things out. I hope this is helpful to you, because I find that all of these little nuggets and all of these little tips and tricks from people that are in the trenches right now, that's what I want to provide to you guys. Like, take that one little nugget out and be like, that's a great idea. We were fortunate enough to both have adoption reimbursements through our jobs. One was $10K and one was $15K, which helped a ton. Check with your employers. Maybe you have adoption benefits too. Even though the funds weren't available until our son's adoption was finalized, check with your work and see if that's something they offer. And if it isn't, advocate for it. And I want to just plug in the Dave Thomas Foundation. I used to have a kit, and I think they still do, about how to advocate with your company to get adoption benefits. Even if it can't help you right now, it might help someone else in the same boat down the line. Great thought. We recently experienced a failed adoption, but we're lucky that it was through the agency we already adopted our son with, and they were very open to working with us to create a payment plan since the situation was unexpected and much sooner after our son's adoption than we anticipated. Agencies might be willing to work with you and not require such a large amount up front. Not sure, as each agency is so different, but might be worth having an honest conversation with the ones you're with. Best case, they help. Worst case, you're at the same place you're in now. Good luck. Great point. Especially if it's a situation where you know there's not a lot of people that would say yes, or you know you are the perfect fit for what the expectant mom is looking for. In those cases, agencies are more likely to work with you. So let me give you a for instance. If, for instance, you are willing to take on a medically fragile baby or Down syndrome or something, and you know probably not a lot of other people would be, you can say, we are very interested. However, this is our scenario. Would you be willing to work with that? I hope some of this is helpful. Let's see. Let's see if there's another one that might be worth reading. I did the puzzle fundraiser, shirts, crochet commissions, and baked goods with a plethora of ways that people could contribute. I think that helped. No, I think what helped was that I posted regular update videos about where I was in the process, what I was working on, what would come next, answer FAQs, and discuss the various expenses along the way. I think the update really helped my friends and family feel more connected to the process, so more people ended up contributing. Bravo on that. Absolutely. First of all, people don't understand, which is why community is so important, but people don't understand, so you have to tell them. People want to know, that if they contribute, they want to know where it's going or that it helped. So keep giving them updates. I'll read one more. We had savings and took out a loan through our retirement. It was the best option for us since the interest paid goes back into our retirement. We were taken aback at the cost once we began seeing situations since it was almost double what we expected it to be. I don't have any creative suggestions, that person said. So a lot of great little nuggets in there. All right. We had somebody post recently, and I think this is interesting, and I'll probably do a podcast episode on it. I don't have a lot to say about it other than divorce happens after adoption. And one of our clients who adopted twins and divorced after that was having their first visit as a divorced couple, and how they split it up. And she was super nervous about it, and then posted the update about how beautifully it went. And they just split up their time, and one person did this with them and another person did that with them. And it worked out. And it sounds like they did it together, but separate. And it worked out. But divorce happens. Be honest and upfront with everybody. Communicate, work it out. It can still all work beautifully. You just have to be honest with yourself, be honest with each other, and hopefully you're in a place where you can continue talking to each other. But I loved that she was so open about her story and then posted how beautifully it went. Again, more to come on that. And if you are somebody who divorced after you adopted and would like to come on our podcast, in fact, maybe I'll go ask my client after this. I'd love to dig into that more. If you are seeing a lot of situations and saying no time and time again, I want you to take a step back and ask yourself, why? So are you with an agency that just automatically sends you everything without taking into account your criteria? Or are they sending you things that they truly believe fit within your criteria and you're still uncomfortable with it? Is there anything that you need to work through? Is it truly uncomfortable for you? Or is it just fear? Like, meaning, is it truly something you don't think you can handle? Or are you just scared? And if so, I want you to look inside yourself and work through that. Number one, you don't want to be the no person at an agency. They may not continue to present you, or they may just think you're not really serious about it. So one, if you are saying no, it's okay. If it's a true no, give them reasons why. I also recommend, unless it's oh my God, I don't meet this criteria at all, like I don't even know why it was sent to me. If you are working with a consultant and you think it's a no, still share it with your consultant. It's really good to review together so that one, your consultant can understand why it's a no. Maybe they can educate you or push back a little bit, not to make you feel guilty about saying no. That's not the point of it, but to challenge you a little bit about your comfort zone, where your fear is creeping up, where past trauma might be creeping up for you, so that you can work things through the way that will be helpful for you in the future, so that you can ultimately lead to a yes. So one of the things that we provide to our families are trackers. We want you, and we think it's important for you to keep track of every situation you receive, whether you present it or not, so that we can go back and look at, wow, you've been presenting a ton. You're saying no more than you're saying yes, or you're saying yes more than you're saying no. Either way, it's going to give us information that's going to be able to help you tweak things as you continue to move forward. So for instance, if you're saying yes more than no and you're just not getting picked, that tells me, let's go look at your profile. Are there pictures that can be updated? Is there something that might be throwing an expectant mom off? Do you need to choose different agencies because the agencies you're at aren't doing what you need it to do? There's a lot of information that can be taken from tracking your efforts. Where did you sign up? What was the conversation like? What situations are you seeing? What did you say to that situation? What feedback did you get? All of that information is data that can help us help you as you continue moving forward. Just a couple more things. When an expectant mom, after a match, doesn't show up for the first call that you have scheduled, should you run? I had mixed feelings. I never like it when there is a scheduled appointment and mom doesn't show up. It scares me. I get a pit in my stomach. Our other consultant that is on my team, who has worked with expectant moms, birth moms for years prior to working with me, she tends to think it is very common for that first call for mom not to show up because fear really creeps in. That makes a lot of sense to me. I want you to have your radar up if that happens and give her a second chance. I just had that happen with one of my families. Actually, it's the single mom who just matched. The first call, expectant mama didn't show for, and she got nervous and she said, should I run? And I was like, it's so hard, right? Because you never know. We've seen everything. We've seen moms cancel everything, never show up, never have a phone call, never want to see you, talk to you, whatever. You think for sure it's going to fail. And then sure enough, she calls when she's ready to give birth. So you never really understand what's going on through an expectant mom's mind and what she needs and what she's comfortable with, right? It's kind of like going back to why you continue to say no all the time. Is it fear, or is it truly something you can't do? And so she's struggling with a lot of that as well. So give a second chance and have your radar up. In this case, she did show up for the second one. They felt very comfortable with each other. You may never know why or why not she showed or didn't show, but hopefully it will work out in the end. And then finally, making a decision without a lot of information. There are some agencies that give you a whole phone book of information on the expectant mom and even sometimes forget to cross out her last name. Some of them always share the last name. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it's a breach of confidentiality a little bit, even though a lot of information is shared. Some people have other views on that, but I digress. What I want to say is that sometimes you're going to get medical records and a whole lot of information to go by and pictures of the kids. And sometimes you literally have a phone call with, "This is what we know." And then you have to gut check. Is this enough for me to take a risk and say yes? Or am I just so uncomfortable with it? I know I will never be that person to be able to say yes if there's not X, Y, and Z shared. You know that about yourself. Some of it you may need to work through and just understand how adoption works. There may be some scenarios, if a baby is born, the doctor is saying the baby looks very healthy and happy, but there's no records yet to share, and mom hasn't done a social medical. Are you going to hop on a plane and go see for yourself and take that risk? So these are some things you need to know about adoption. We had a set of twins the other day, and a lot of information was shared, but there were no medical records. And so one family member, they did their due diligence, and when it came down to it, was just too uncomfortable without seeing records. Now, part of it may be a learning curve because it's maybe one of the first situations that you're applying to. Maybe it's not. And so you don't understand that that's a very common thing in adoption. There's so much that you need to gut check yourself on and understand, is this fear? Is this something I can or can't do? Is this something I need to work through so that I can overcome it? Which is one reason why we think it's a great practice for anybody going through adoption to always hire an adoption competent therapist or adoption competent coach from the get-go while you are in that process. First of all, if you don't think you need it, you're probably wrong. Let me just say it like it is. You're probably wrong. There's so much you don't know. There's so much that you don't even realize is going on inside of you, but you need to talk it out. And there's so much that's going to come up that you don't even realize. So it's never a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You are going to want to have somebody in your back pocket to call and hop on a call with and talk through whatever you're going through, which is one of the reasons at RG Adoption Consulting, we have monthly in-house circle of support calls with an adoption competent therapist. We think that's really important, if nothing else, because I know 95% of our families are not going to go hire a therapist that we recommend to them because they don't think they need it. So if that's the case, at least let me bring it to you. Show up to understand why you might need it. And if you don't know what to say, call one up and just say, I once heard this was a good idea. I have no idea why, but we're going through the adoption process. If you're watching me, I'm on the phone. I'm pretending I'm on the phone. If you're not, you'll imagine it. I don't know why I need you. Can you enlighten me? They will be very happy to. And with that, go find your therapist and work through your shit and have a great week. Tune in next week for another episode of This Week in Adoption. Toodaloo. Bye. Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Adoption Roadmap podcast. If you did, I have a few favors to ask of you. First, please hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And while you're at it, I'd love to hear your takeaways. Please write a review and let me know what you liked. And if you have a question or a suggestion on what you'd like to hear, I'd love to hear that too. Please shoot me an email at support@rgadoptionconsulting.com and let me know what you'd like to hear about. And if you have a question, I may just answer it online. Thanks again for listening. Tune in every Wednesday and Friday morning for a brand new episode of the Adoption Roadmap podcast. Until next time, bye-bye.